So what I want to know is, so you kind of came from sales management, fractional, CEO for a sales training company.
Yeah.
Now you're running a software company.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest shifts?
I think it's like I'm a bit of a doer, but I can't code, right?
Yeah.
So that's a real shift. Like I've had to relinquish the control of the product. So I control the direction, but I have no ability to help with the implementation.
Yeah.
And that's been a difficult adjustment.
In what way? In what way though?
Yeah. Well, I want them here, and sometimes they're here.
Yeah.
It's like because like at the end of the day, you can get your hands dirty, and you can start just helping clients. You can start kind of going through stuff. And like I can do that to some degree, but I can't fix a problem. So if there is a problem with the software, I can't fix it. I have to rely on other people to fix it, and I have to take what they say as gospel because like I don't fucking know what it takes to fix it. And what I've learned, like one of the larger learning curves is like, when you get frustrated with software, because like, why can't they just change that? It's like, well, mate, that piece of code is in 14 million places.
Yeah.
And if you get 13,999 of them, the thing bricks itself.
Right.
So like there is a process, and speed equals lack of scale, and scale equals lack of speed.
Right.
And so finding the balance between how you scale quickly, how you release features.
Because you don't want to be one of those, almost every software entrepreneur I know, they've built the original version of the software only to realize we got to rebuild the software.
Yeah,
so I imagine what you're trying to do is avoid that.
Oh, we just finished that. So
yeah. Oh, so you already finished that whole cycle?
But it's like it's almost like a planned thing.
Yeah, it happens.
So,
you have like a V2, you got to rebuild it from the ground up.
Well,
with better
to be honest,
infrastructure.
it's like we took, partly because of you, but we gotten up to like, now we have 200 clients, and we've done that in a year, right?
Right.
So like that's a lot for like an enterprise sort of B2B level software.
Exactly.
We have over 1,000 users now. And like that scaled quickly. I remember after the first event that I came here, I signed up 41 accounts that month.
Right.
And everyone was like, stop. Like, we're
gonna
like
die.
we've just doubled our APIs and all that kind of stuff. And so like when you start a software company, like the thesis, the sort of growth thesis is like, we'll clone it. So you clone it. But then what that means is that like that's not scalable, because the bug hunting becomes very difficult, because where is it coming from? Which version? Where are we at? How do you find it? So like at one stage we have 7 people full-time bug hunting, right? Like, which is a problem. And that's when we hired some really senior developers to come in, and they spent 6 months redoing the entire code base, which is why like you didn't have to go like, well, now we can't feature rollout. Because if we feature rollout while redoing the code base, like that's a real problem.
Exactly.
And what we're seeing is like, some of our competitors, it took them 5 years to get to where we are after 12 months. So like we're, the whole, like we're building the ship while we're flying, right? But, but in software, you're always doing that. But, like me and Declan are not exactly tech bros, like we don't even know what API stands for. And that's part of the charm.
Same.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
3 owners of the company, just sales guys.
Yeah. And so, we're having to rely on people to tell us things. But like, so I went on Tranual or whatever it's called. And I bought a DevOps course.
Right.
And I was like, I guess I'll learn how DevOps works so that at least I can know that things are being done right and how things are doing. And so, learning that system and then having arguments with devs and like actual arguments. I mean, like, we've had some heated discussions around like feature rollout versus, I'm like, guys, it's a business. Like we have to run it as a business. I need to take what you'd say and what we need. Like we have to roll out some easy features that are high perception value that don't require a code base thing. And so we actually ended up developing a secondary code base that we could dev quickly on, because I was like, I don't want to spend 6 months developing a feature that no one wants.
Right.
And they're like, okay. And like with devs, you have to put it in terms like they'll just argue because they're autistic, right? They're like neckbeards that don't go outside.
Yeah.
And like that.
You have to have a neckbeard to get hired.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Like if you're not autistic, I don't want you, right? But that means that you're hard to talk to.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, but I need to put it in terms that they get. Otherwise, they will just put their foot in the sand and go, no, like we're not doing that, because they're very protective of their code base, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So we developed a secondary. We're actually using Ed for that. We have a secondary, like sort of more vibe coded base to roll out features to know they work.
That's pretty standard right now in software too, with the vibe coding.
Yeah. But you can't do that if you want to scale.
Well, you can't, but I'm saying for like testing the features and getting an idea so you can pass to the devs and communicate your vision.
Exactly. And then they have like a relatively finalized this product to go, oh yeah, now because devs don't understand use case. They understand code base. And so like, I'll be like, they're like, the way that they name stuff is silly. I'm like, mate, what does that even mean? Like, how is a setter who's 22 years old and like an idiot? Right? Gonna figure that out. They're like, oh yeah. I was like, you can't have that there. You have to move this over here.
Yeah. So and real quick, just because people don't have context, for people who don't know what Dialer is, what is it?
Dialer is a software that helps you contact more of your leads.
Yeah.
So the way I describe it is like, most dialers are kind of a telephony system for your business. We're not that. We're like an F1 car.
What is a telephony system?
So like a telephone system.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah, like it's it's like you call people, you receive messages, you kind of do this, you just sort of click around and do what you want, right? That's a dialing software. We're a dialing system. So it's like picture an F1 car. F1 cars go really well around a track, but if you try and pick up your groceries in one, it's kind of a shit fight, right? So like. And the reason why we've been able to have, I think, good market penetration is that like our messaging is very clear. Like we get higher pickup rates, higher contact rates.
Yeah.
None of the dialers want to say that because they don't.
Yes.
But if we allow people to do all the things that the other dialers allow, it'll ruin that. So like, we're a use case and it's like you do high volume outbound. If you have people that call full time, use us. If you want to like just click around and do whatever the fuck you want in the system, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe you have 20 people, but 4 of them are on Dialer.
Right.
And we are the only one that enforces compliant practices.
And we're going to circle back to that. Can we say approximate revenue of Dialer or no?
Yeah, we can.
So in 12 months, basically, you were able to get it from 0 to what MRR?
MRR's just under 500.
So 500 a month.
Yeah.
Right. So that's pretty. And this is a nice thing
it's
about
pure software.
So the hard part is that you've had to shift in and like you're not the technical side, you don't have control there.
Yeah.
The nice part is we come from a sales background,
Yeah.
so we sell shit. Right. So that's like you realize that's like an anomaly in the software world.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, like what was the biggest things that you did to be able to grow it? Because we really just started paid ads, right?
Oh yeah,
so
like weeks ago.
Everything up until that has been organic.
Completely organic, yeah.
What do you think's been, besides having a good product, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, having a good product is everything, right? Like, I think Alex Becker was like, he will not touch anything that isn't just a home run, no-brainer, right? So having a no-brainer product really helps. But I think market positioning to me is everything. If you can position something well in a marketplace, you can sell it, right? Like I have a low-ticket sales training. It's called Fuck the Gurus. Like that's a very particular name.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Sales guru is a very known terminology, and I'm selling something that's worth 10 grand for $100, right? So like that's how I get 1,000 people in 3 weeks.
Yep.
And so I think market positioning, like when I was creating the product suite for 7th Level, right? Like I did a Venn diagram analysis of all the products that were out there, and I was like, what is missing is mid-ticket with scripting. I was like, no one's doing that. It was all really high ticket, really low ticket. So I was like, we'll do a mid-ticket offer that has scripting in it, and we'll do group because like that really wasn't much of a thing. And so we had scripting, group, and like it really hit. Like it was like, because there was a point of difference. There was a position in the marketplace that was like, the Venn diagram was like, oh, there's a big vacuum here. And so we'll create that. And I think with Dialer, like I was so personally frustrated with the lack of efficacy. And like I remember the thing that really broke it was when I was doing Brunson sales, and I had 4 full-time outbounders that were doing like $12,000 to $15,000 a week and speaking to like 1% of the people. And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And I was doing everything that I knew how to do. So, but then the only alternatives when you speak to the dialers are like, we'll do more. Buy more numbers, dial more, which is only more money for them.
Right.
Then they brought in non-compliant, I didn't know at the time, but like multi-line dialing. And even power dialing in a lot of senses is like not really allowed for cell phones in a lot of use cases, right? And so when I left 7th Level, I was lucky enough to get like an exit. And so I was like, I had time to sort of think. And I was like, man, if someone solves that problem, they're going to have a really big boat. And I was like, I feel like I'm smart enough to solve it. So I kind of just went full autism mode on it, and I like learned everything about VoIP. And people are, when you reach out to people on LinkedIn who like have boring corporate jobs, like they're so willing to hop on a call with you for $500. It's not even funny.
Yeah. So you reached out to these people and just paid them for their time in these companies.
I was like, how does it work, mate? They're like, well, it works like this. I was like, well, and then I reached out to all these guys. I was like, how does spam monitoring work? And he goes, oh, it's not accurate. And everyone was like, it's not accurate. And I was like, well, how does spam remediation work? They're like, oh, it's bullshit. I was like, huh? Right? I was like, what? And I was like, and then I went into like the compliance side of things, and I was like, holy crap, everything I did, said, taught is completely illegal. That's not good. And then I was like, I wonder what happens if you do it the way they want you to do it.
So, and this is a good pivot, is like the reason why Dialer works, and I'm going to give it the stupid man's explanation and you can give it the autism explanation, is number one, it's on an enterprise infrastructure that's not on Twilio, so it's a less congested network. So a lot of people don't realize that, but all these things are on Twilio.
And there's way more information that goes with the dial.
And number two is that essentially most dialers, the way the sales team uses it is not compliant.
Yes.
And Dialer, through this different workflows and also some stuff built into the software, enforces the compliance, which increases the pickup rates dramatically.
Yes.
Right? And then the third thing, and there's more than three reasons, but just to keep it easy, it's three. The third thing is because of the workflow and our experience knowing how to run outbound teams and how to actually work leads, we just force the setters into working the leads in the most efficient way. And then I would say the fourth thing is the management capability to make sure your setters are actually not working 1 hour a day. Would you add anything to that?
No, like that's like like the big hitters, right? Like the sort of the how is really complex, but the what is quite simple.
So that's why, I mean, with our experience doing it, and also, I mean, our pickup rates went way up. Even companies that I think operationally, we won't say who they are, were pretty good. We've seen like a pretty massive 20-30% increase in pickup rates. And then we both know the one company that basically doubled their business because
like literally
because they were just calling off iPhones in a crazy sales room.
It was
good for
They're
them.
getting after it though.
But so why do you think, because so many info people moved to software and just bomb, right? There's been Dialer now, I would say. Hyros obviously is like massive. Sam Ovens was School, but most people who move from our industry to software, it doesn't work out. I wonder why you think that is.
I think most of them are not that competent to begin with. So like I consider myself like I'm quite good at like I did 5 years of full-time outbound myself. Right. Before I got into high ticket, I was in sales for like 5 or 6 years. Right. That's why when I got to high ticket, I was like good straight away. People were like, oh my God, like I did Taylor's $97 course, and I was $100K a month, closer, right? From that $197. Right. But yeah, so like I've done so much outbound that I know how it works, and I've run a lot of outbound teams. And so I am legitimately an expert in that realm, and I've done it across a number of different things. And so I think the first thing is like they're maybe not a true expert. Also, they sort of have no interest in if you want to build a long-term software, like you have to be willing to not make money and take money. Right. So like me and Declan put money into it, and we didn't take money out of it for a long, for almost the entirety of it. And we didn't need money, which is a really good position to be in. And I think it's
you made a lot of money before.
It's very difficult to grow a business when you need the money from it in general. And if you need the money from a software business, I do not know how you do that.
Well, you can't.
So I would say most of them just fail because the people who make them require money from it quickly, which means that the quality of your product is never going to be there. Because if I was to run Dialer to maximize revenue, right now, it would fall apart because I would break it because your boy knows how to make some sales. Right. So like I do sporadic sales for Dialer, and somebody else handles it, because when I go hard, like over the next 2 weeks, like we signed up 10 accounts yesterday. You know what I mean? Like I'm going hard in the paint. So it's like this next 2 weeks is going to be a big push, but it's ready for it. And then I'll back off a bit, and then I'll do it again later. So, because the software needs the opportunity to grow at the pace in which it can grow whilst maintaining a high quality product. So if I just went ham and was like, I need a fucking $50K a month salary from this immediately, I would just break it. And then with software, like when people have a really bad experience, you never get an opportunity again. Like we have clients leave Dialer, a lot of them come back, but they're not leaving because they're having a bad experience. A lot of them are leaving because like there's one thing and they want to try something else because they think that they think that like they start getting good pickup rates and they think it's them. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, our leads are just awesome.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know? And then like they go away and they go, can we come back?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, man, come on back. You're all good. So I think like that's probably the key thing. Like when Becker did
Hyros.
Like I don't think he needed the money from Hyros.
Well, the other thing is too, so this is how I think about it, is there's two ways you can do software. You either create a new category, which Becker didn't create ad attribution as a category, but he did create the subcategory of doing it really well for info, high ticket, courses, call funnels, webinars, and then e-commerce, right? So you can kind of create a category, or you can take an existing category and do it 10x better, which is what you did basically.
Yeah.
Is there's tons of dialers.
A lot of them.
But you created, you kind of created a
ARR.
subcategory of essentially being the compliant dialer, therefore having more pickup rates and also less compliant risk.
Yeah.
And
Which
then
is
also
positioning,
because which is positioning. And then on top of that, it was like 10x better than the next thing.
Yeah.
And it's like the free money pitch, where essentially anytime you can be like, hey, you're already doing this, but if you just switch and do this, you're going to save a bunch of money that otherwise you're losing. That's the easiest B2B pitch in the world.
Yes.
You know, that's
like
how
our sales are like, hey man.
Yeah.
You want to
so
do it?
that's what I was
Like-
going to ask you about. How different is it selling high ticket coaching than a really good software product?
I mean, it's you're not selling.
Yeah.
You're just like explaining, right? So
The hardest part is probably the enterprise integrations with like,
the big ones take a while.
yeah, with
like,
who,
it is
who's got a
slow.
CFO, and then they got to do a purchasing process. It's fucking 9 months.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah.
So like shortcutting that is difficult, but you know it's worth it because you know if you look at on Dial, the average seat is worth $6,000 to $7,000 a year.
Nice.
Right, and so you look at the like say a 10x rev, it's like a pretty standardized valuation. So you're looking at 60,000 a seat. So that's how I think of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, mate, bring everyone you got. Like, let's go. That's 60,000 on the back end. You know what I mean in terms of value. So, you know, like the way that, like when I was doing the sales, it was like heavy authority. Like I would just literally bamboozle people and go like, you know so little about this that you should just let me do it.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, what are you doing for this? What are you doing for this? What are you doing for this? And it was almost like there was the pickup rate, like positive solution base, right? But we actually had to temper it down a fair bit because if I say like you can quintuple, it's like I don't believe you.
Yeah.
It's like you have a 2%, I can get you a 20%. It's 10x. Like that's too much.
Yeah.
So I got to go. Well, if I give you a 10%, is that good? Right.
It's the
like,
believability of the promise.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there it was like compliance because you know like there is a pain associated with the transition in tech, right? So. You know, it's like we've tried this before. We get good results for a week, and so really it was about. It's a very explanatory process as to like why what they've done hasn't worked. You know, and then what I sort of created when I brought a sales guy on was like it's a escape the matrix sale. Is kind of like how I described it. I just basically got every single transcript of every sales call I did, put it in ChatGPT, and said like make a framework, right? But I need a framework that doesn't require as much knowledge as me or the authority of me.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, because when people get on a sales call with me, like a lot of them know who I am, and so like it's a cheat code.
Yeah. Well, double click on that for a second because a lot of people have issues getting off the phones because they're the expert, and then they need to kind of process their process that they have, and their expertise into something that's repeatable.
Yeah.
So how did you do that for Dialer? Because with Dialer and how you explain it, like when you were explaining it to me, I was like, all right, bro, if we're gonna do some marketing for this, like. We need to come up with a dumber explanation. I was like this hour long, like Twilio and like all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on?
Like,
I'm like, what's going on? Let's like take this down to third grade level. But yeah, how did you do that for your sales guy?
Yeah, so I did have to teach him stuff, right? So at the education
There's a certain
process.
business acumen they have.
Yeah. But essentially it was I wrote out like these are all the things that you've probably tried. And they're like, yes. It's like, okay, cool. Would you like me to explain why they were never going to work and why it's actually been rigged against you? And that's the sale. It's like the dialers know it won't work. So that's why they get you to do more because more equals more money.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, oh, and then we explain, like without using names, we explain like what the common thesis is and what the outcomes that everyone, like everyone's more. So just do more, buy more, dial more lines, do this. Like that's the opposite of our thesis. Our thesis is be more strategic and do it in a way where the telecoms who are monitoring everything, like it's an algorithm. It's like the headline of a YouTube video, right? Do it the way they want you to do it, and it will work significantly better. You know, so, but that's like, but you have to, in order for that to work, you have to be on the right infrastructure, right? So they couldn't do it anyway. So once we explain all that, we go, this is why nothing you've done has worked. This is what we've done to ensure that it can work.
Yeah.
This is how much it costs. Would you like to do it?
Yeah. It's the same thing I do, which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Is when I try to pitch, I try to make it the simultaneous explanation of why everything they tried in the past has failed and why this is going to be different.
Yeah.
And then try to make it more educational and a dialogue, not an anvil drop.
Yeah.
Because you know when most people pitch, it's like the thing I hate is, all right, I'm going to tell you how this works. Save your questions for the end. And then they just Speedy Gonzalez through the entire thing. And you can tell, like, people will say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And you can tell, like, I'll reviewing calls. I'll be like, dude, this person has no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
They're out of it.
Right. And then at the end, they're like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. And then their objection is, I don't know how this is different than what I did in the past. And you're like, motherfucker, I just explained it. Well, the thing is, they didn't understand anything you were saying, but they don't want to feel stupid. So they don't say, dude, I don't understand anything you're saying. You know, so the key
it takes a level of bravery to ask questions.
The key is also, it's like making the pitch into a dialogue and adding in those tie downs and be like, okay, great. So you know how you tried this in the past. Do you see how with the difference of this, you're going to see a much higher pickup rate because now you're doing it this way, not this way, and having that compare and contrast.
And I had our devs whack up a calculator. And so during the process, we asked them questions like, how many leads do you get? How many dollars do you do? What's your pickup rate? What's your booking rate?
Yeah.
From like pickups to bookings, what's your show rate? What's your cash collection? What's your close rate? We ask it in random sequence because when you ask things in an order, they see what you're doing. So we ask it in a random sequence and we have a calculator and we plug that in. And then by the end of it, we go, oh, so you're doing like 320K new cash a month? They go, yeah. And then we share the screen and go, well, if you had a 15% pickup rate, you would make 700.
Nice.
And they're like, huh?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, if everything else stays the same. You know what? Let's make it worse. Let's make it so that you're more people, but like it's 20% worse than every other metric. You still make 50 grand more.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you can make a product that's like patching the leaky bucket in B2B.
Yeah.
Easiest sale.
And then one of the things that we did is the proposal that we use actually has all of that information. So the proposal is really educational. We use a software called Quiller, which is like you're essentially making websites every time. So it's like a live thing. You can have videos embedded. You can make it really pretty. But you can also see all the analytics of who's seen it, which parts they're watching, all that kind of stuff. And so we sort of, a lot of the people that we're talking to are not the final decision maker. Sometimes it is, but we actually find that we don't want to sign people on the first call. We actually want them to bring all the people to get buy-in from all of the people involved.
Yeah, because you have to make sure, and this is one thing Becker's talking a lot about recently, is that like you can, because this is the thing a lot of the vibe coders get wrong, is like, sure, you can build a software, but a big part of software businesses is getting people, or really any business, is getting people to use the fucking thing successfully, which at the end of the day, it requires client success, you know, having an actual onboarding and an actual pathway, and having activation points and doing real human business stuff.
Yes.
And getting feedback from customers, so on and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. So like so the proposal is made as it gives the person presenting it to the powers that be the ability to explain why it works.
Yeah.
So there's an educational step-by-step, this is your problem. This is how it's manifesting. This is like what it's giving you, the symptoms of it. This is why you're having it. This is how we solve it. But then there's some technical information in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like this is really what's happening. And it allows them to kind of break through and go, oh, okay, I get it.
Well, what you're doing too, which is cool about that, is you have the technical aspect for the CTO. I mean, we're talking like bigger enterprises, right? But the CTO guy wants to know the technical stuff and the integration stuff. The CFO guy wants to know about the ROI.
Yeah.
Right. The sales manager wants to know why his shift's not working and how much more money his sales team's going to make and how much easier his life's going to be. And that he doesn't have to hire as many setters because he can get more out of the setters he currently has and how it's going to make management easier. So it's kind of like that one thing hits all those people.
Yeah, you know? We have the Postman API documentation links in there, and like so everyone can find all the stuff that they want to find in there.
Yeah,
and then we give that to them, and then we take them through it, and then like we just book a next step call. And it's like, okay, cool. And then from the time they sign it, all the onboarding is automated because like you need speed to onboarding is incredibly important.
Yeah.
You need to get people getting wins straight away.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
Like,
So that's the big thing. That's what we were talking about is like,
Yeah.
you can't just have a great product. It's about, do they actually use the product and building habits around the product,
Yeah.
right?